Hello again, and welcome to Nine-Fingered Photography. Today's lesson is going to be step 1 in constructing a pinhole camera. It's the same as a basic camera. We have a shutter, we have a lens, and we have a light tight box. How we're going to construct this, we're going to start with a blank piece of paper, lay out the pattern, and then demonstrate on how to cut this out. Also, we're going to put foil on it and learn in the next lesson how to paint it and put it all together. So let's get started. You'll need a ruler and a writing utensil. I'm going to use a black Sharpie to lay out my lines. If I can find the right Sharpie. There's my black Sharpie. Now, notice I'm going to put the paper landscape. I'm going to come with my ruler, place it at the top. And there is 3 numbers you need to remember for the first part of this lesson. 2, 4 5/8, and 6 5/8. With the ruler on the edge, I'm going to measure down 2, 4 5/8, 6 5/8. Then slide the ruler over somewhere near the other edge. 2, 4 5/8, 6 5/8. Then I will connect the lines. Notice they should be parallel. If you notice your ruler is slanted, then the lines aren't correct. You might have mismeasured. You might want to readjust it. And remove the ruler. The line should be parallel. The line in the middle, the space should be larger. These two should be equal. Next step, we put the ruler on the edge of the paper. And then we measure again. 2, 4 5/8. 6 5/8. Again at the bottom. 2, 4 5/8, 6 5/8. Turn the ruler upside down from this edge. You know the numbers by now. 2, 4 5/8, 6 5/8. 2, 4 5/8, 6 5/8. And we connect these lines just down to the lower line. We are drawing a series of squares and rectangles. The hardest part about this lesson is measuring. If you are lacking the skills or need some help with measuring, please contact your supervisor. Now we have our series of X's. We're going to do a little more work down here. These numbers are going to be 2.5, 5, 7.5, and 10. Place our ruler just below our squares. 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10. 2.5, 5, 7.5, and 10. And yes, we get to connect the lines. And there we're almost finished. The next thing we need to do is draw an X, a square in the middle of our one of the squares. It could be either one. I like doing it on the left-hand side, but you could do it on the right-hand large square. Now we're going to do some shading so we know what pieces to throw away and what pieces to keep. We know we're going to get rid of this large square, so I'm going to shade it so I don't get confused in cutting. We're going to get rid of this square, this square, this square, this slim squares, or series of thin squares, here and here. That's the area that we're going to throw away when we're done. We also, if I start to cut it out, I have one that I've already started. It looks very similar. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of the large square. Throw that away. We're going to get rid of the little square. Actually, we're going to get rid of all but one of the little squares. because that will be our shutter. It doesn't matter which order you go. I'll do it different ways every time. This is the one piece right there. This is our second piece right there. Our last piece, we'll cut all but the one square. The one thing I did forget to have ready for me is an X-Acto knife to cut this. However, I'm going to save. This will be my shutter. Again, right there. Now this could be difficult to cut out with scissors. Sometimes you might be able to poke it, being very careful, and cut it out with scissors. It doesn't have to be real pretty. It can actually be a circle if you'd like it to be. Or you may use an X-Acto knife, but be very careful that you do not cut into your hand and lose a finger. The next step we want to do with this, I'll show you down on the table, is we need to take our ruler again and bend everywhere we have a line. Use your ruler to get a nice, crisp bend. That will allow construction a lot easier. Then we'll, again, on the other, or the larger piece, every line, we have a nice bend. That'll be the box. This piece we don't need to bend the shutter, but we also have to bend the end of the box. Well, actually, this will be, on a Pinhole camera, the film or light-sensitive material holding will be held right there. The last step, if I pick up the piece I dropped, on part one, we'll be covering up our lens hole to make it smaller. It's a pinhole. That's a thumb hole or a finger hole. So what we'll do is get a piece of foil. Remember, foil has two sides. There's a dull side and a shiny side. We want the dull side down. Remember that lessons in the near future will always have us putting the dull side down. Take a piece of Scotch tape. Notice I'm putting this on the side without the lines. Put the dull side down and cover tape the entire outside of our camera, trying to keep the foil as flat as we can. So, as you can see, today we've gone, in this short lesson, from a blank piece of paper to laying out our pattern, to cutting our pattern out, folding them, and having our four pieces, and then also taping our foil on. The last thing you want to do when you get to this stage is put your name on every piece of your camera, because the next lesson won't take place till tomorrow. Then we're going to go ahead and paint it and assemble it. Thank you. See you next time on Non-Figured Photography.